This is Talk is Sheep, the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Society BC, brought to you by Sitka Gear. Come along as we bring conversations that matter to you into the high alpine. This episode is sponsored by our conservation partner, Sprtizig Outfitting. Thank you Sitka Gear and Sprtizig Outfitting for investing in healthy wildlife and sustainable ecosystems.
Hey Brian, how's it going, buddy?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. So, you've been busy lately, eh? You just get back from Mexico?
Yeah. Got back from Mexico and jumped right into kind of trying to scout for some mule deer and black bears, and been busy trying to get the trucks and quads and trailers all maintenance and get ready for bear season.
All right on. So for our listeners that might not recognize, who are you? Where are you from?
All right, I'm Brian Spitzig. Originally from Ontario, but I've been in Alberta for I think like 13 or 14 years. Been a professional guide for I think 17 years now, and been an outfitter for 9. And so
right on, keeping busy then. What drove you into that? Do you think what led you into that outdoors world?
Oh, I just got kind of hooked up with some guys in college, and then became a fishing guide, and then just kind of meet this guy and go guide here, then meet this guy and go guide there, and it was just such a small circle. I ended up kind of getting into the Yukon, and that's kind of when everything just shifted gears for me once I figured out what those white sheep were. And so
yeah, you're kind of a humble leader in the sheep world over there. You're you don't always tell the story, but you know, when you're down in Reno, you get a few drinks in you and you whip out your phone, you see some incredible rams that you manage to take every year with clients.
Yeah, just everybody knows that you guys are from BC, so you guys can kind of see the resident pressure and stuff like that. And so in the Yukon, we're just trying to keep it hush hush, and you know, like you said, like if you want to know what we're killing or what we're doing, you just gotta, you know, corner us at the right time, I guess, and just come to the booth at all the shows, and you know, there's all the pictures and all the stories that go with it if you want to have a beer and chit chat about it. So
yeah, I think another good place to corner you is that circle bar outside the banquet hall there.
Oh yeah,
seem to be running into each other every year.
Yeah, I've been known to have a couple of beers at the circle bar, you know.
Yeah, I think that's where we solve all the world's problems and figure out what we're doing next in the conservation world.
I try to hide out from the backpack race a little bit. I did that once or twice, but it never ends up too good when you're wearing a pair of cowboy boots and have a couple beers into you.
Well, we haven't seen you in the horse packing competition yet either, I don't think.
Oh, me and Greg Spenner, we did that this year, and that was the first for me as well. But we're about a minute slower than the winner, so I guess that's not too bad.
Blame it on penalties, right?
Oh yeah. Blame it on the judging.
Yeah. So when you're guiding for sheep up in the Yukon, who you working for up there?
I spent 4 years at Bonnet Plume doing Doll sheep, and then I've been with Yukon Stone Outfitters with Aaron Florian for the last 8 years.
All right.
Yeah.
So, sounds like there's a dog going to town on water somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Got some hounds in the background there?
Just one hound dog, but she's going back downstairs now.
Oh, perfect. I run into that every now and then on this podcast. Kyle will attest to that.
Yeah.
Usually quick.
I got a couple too, so yeah, we're dog friendly. It's awesome. So
yeah. So what's your typical season like? When do you start when you go up to the Yukon there?
Well, my season really never ends because I don't really have a real job. So I guess I'm fairly lucky enough to be guiding and outfitting the whole time. And so if I'm not scouting or hiking around looking for animals, you know, I'm just kind of actually hunting. So I usually start in the Yukon beginning of July. I'll kind of go backpack scouting a little bit and then come back out and we'll shoe the horses. And we got about 50 head of horses we got to shoe. And then all the guides and wranglers disperse from our main camp and you're kind of gone for the whole season. So you don't really.
When do you come out?
Early to mid-October. Once the snow starts flying and the boot strut's kind of dying off, it's time to get out and head down south and start looking for whitetails and mule deer.
Oh, okay. When you're up in the Yukon, if you're coming out in October, are you diving in for caribou and moose and anything else?
Yeah, we just usually hunt sheep in August and half of September, and then it's moose season. And then secondary animals are obviously your caribou, grizzly bears, black bears, and wolverines, wolves, stuff like that. So
enough to keep you busy then, eh?
oh yeah, if you're not, it's funny, you spend that much time up there and you really don't really take a lot of critters. There's just a lot of hunting, and stone sheep is definitely a lot different than a dull sheep hunt, as I'm sure you guys know that from BC.
Yeah, Kyle's pretty seasoned on both of them there. He's got another dull hunt coming up, lucky bugger. So.
There you go.
Season's just not very good at it, that's all. Been out lots, just never kill anything. So
there you go. So, you're kind of a no bullshit kind of guy there, Brian, and you're dealing with clients all the time, and you ever get those ones that you're just like, why are you here?
Yeah.
You don't have to answer that question. It's
I always ask the guys, like what drives them to come on a sheep hunt, and what have you done to prepare yourself for the sheep hunt, and kind of where did it all start? And there's a wide range of answers, I guess, but most of it's like personal growth and challenging themselves, because they're usually pretty good businessmen in their field of choice. But when they come out to the mountains, it's like, well, now you're in my office, so let's stick close and we'll have a good time, and we'll definitely work our tails off, that's for sure.
Yeah. What would you like? You got horses, but I'm sure your boots on the ground substantially. What would you say is kind of like physically preparedness? What should you be expecting when you get out there with you guys?
Probably a sore ass from the saddle. There's not sheep on every single mountain, so you're definitely gonna get picked up from one place, and we're gonna have a pretty good trek to get to where the sheep are. And then we'll just change it up at any point in time. Like, some mountains are easier to hunt with horses, and sometimes you just can't get the horses around, so you just gotta dump the horses and go with a backpack style hunt. So yeah, you kind of got to be able to do both horses and just a backpack style if you're going to be successful.
Do you guys reach out to clients and tell them, hey, we're kind of expecting this physical level. You need to be able to put this amount of kilometers on every day, kind of get them prepared, or just let them show up to camp and go, all right, I guess we're horseback hunting?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest difference between stone sheep hunting and dull sheep hunting. Like, most people that have been on a stone sheep, they've probably done some kind of mountain hunting before, since it's like twice as much money for a stone than is a dull. So you're not really, I hate to say it, you're not really babysitting hunters as much. You're not trying to calm them down of the overwhelming mountains and stuff like that. You're kind of just guys you can kind of hunt together a little harder because they already been on some mountain hunts and stuff like that. So, and also the shooting capabilities of hunters these days, the guns, everybody's kind of at the range shooting 1,000 yards, and that's probably not even that far for some people nowadays. But so the readiness of the hunters is definitely a lot more in the stone sheep world than in the dull sheep, I would say.
Yeah. Well, what do you expect or shouldn't expect, but your average shot, would you say? You guys, 400 or 500, or
Yeah,
it's
you're
all
gonna
over the map?
yeah, you're gonna be right there in the 300 yards to 500 yards, pretty consistently. But I think my closest one was like 68 yards or something like that. So
That's fairly up close and personal then.
yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah,
Yeah,
got in the cliffs and
must have been just the right wind.
we just found the sheep in the cliffs, and he got away from his friends, so we can sneak in through the cliffs and got on top of him. And it was just, I thought it was going to be about 150 yards, but when we got there, he wasn't there to be found. So I'm like, oh, where'd he go? Where'd he go? And I kind of peeked over the ledge, and he was directly below us. And so I'm glad the hunter had a, Swarovski V8 with a probably 30 power scope on it. So kind of had a
Can't find the.
Oh, we had a big chuckle about bringing the giant scope after when it's under 100-yard shot, but that's just the way it goes.
That's perfect. All that prep and training and the expensive scope, and then if sometimes when you're that close and you got that powerful of a scope, you're looking down the side of the barrel almost. It's like, I can't even find this friggin' thing in here.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what happened.
Well, been there, done that more than once.
Yeah,
but live and learn, I guess.
So
what would you say when you go into the backcountry? What's like the one thing you can't go without when you head out there?
into the backcountry.
Piece of equipment, and not your, well, where you're guiding, you're in the backcountry, so, and your gun doesn't count. What's the one thing that you got to bring?
A good working thermarest. A good sleeping
Good
bag.
night's sleep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've gone through so many out of them, but with the horses, at least you can use horse blankets. But yeah, I'm not too picky these days. I just kind of, I'm not really a big gear Nazi anymore, or gear nerd, and just kind of, I got my system and just kind of go with it. So, I don't really take a lot of extra stuff besides, contacts and, just a little first aid stuff, but I kind of keep it pretty light. And after so many years of kind of living in the mountains for that long, I just get used to roughing it.
Yeah. Well, I guess, when you say the sleep pad too, if you're out there that long, a good night's sleep's probably few and far between for you.
Oh yeah. Well, you hike all day. We rest pretty good. You get the guys that are so eager with 24-hour light. Let's go. I'm like, hold on. Like, we're going to get our 8 hours of sleep, and we'll get up and give her as hard as we can during the day, but you got to have your rest as well. And also, we're kind of not really eating all that backpack food either. We're eating pretty good with the horses. So you can, pork loins and smoked pork ribs, rotisserie chickens, potatoes, carrots, salad. So we're not,
really roughing it.
Yeah, really roughing it. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's a little bit better than chewing on freeze drieds for 2 weeks, or for you it'd be months.
Oh yeah, I just lose so much weight eating that stuff. It's just pretty hard to keep it going for 3 back-to-back sheep hunts, and then get into the moose after that. But our sheep hunts are 14 days long, so even like the extra 4 days of food, it's quite a bit extra weight too.
Yeah, for sure. Do you guys have to have food drops, or do you guys typically bring enough in with the 50 horses at the start of the season?
Yeah, like each guide will have probably a string of 10 horses. So, as long as you're not carrying too much personal gear, like you have enough good food for 3/4 of the hunt, and you kind of dive into like some canned meat and stuff like that. But you don't really, with 10 horses, it's quite a bit.
Yeah. How many guys go out? Typically it'd be you, a wrangler, and the client? Or?
Yep. Yeah, usually
Or are
it's
you
just
doing it all?
me and a wrangler and the one client. And last year we had a husband and wife come up, so just an extra pony is all it is. But
So would that extra person, would they be a hunter, or you guys have guests for whatever certain fee
uh,
deal?
yeah, we had some non-hunters come up that just want the experience with their significant other or just a hunting buddy. And other times you have a guy that's like, hey, if there's an opportunity for me to shoot a caribou, then they'd take the caribou, but they're not going to shoot a high dollar animal like a sheep or a moose.
Yeah, that's fair. That's one you got to be prepared for when you shoot it.
Yeah, yeah.
When it comes to sheep. So, your sheep season ends and you're rolling into moose and caribou, and you gotta, up in the Yukon, you gotta have some interesting situations you gotta pull the moose out of, I'd imagine. Because I've hunted, the Yukon border, and you see the some of those swamps those guys live in. You ever get those moments where the client pulls the trigger, the moose drops, and you just look at them, it's like, all right, this is gonna be a long day.
Yeah, I've had a couple over the years where they tip over into the river instead of tipping onto the bank or whatever like that. But you just pull your pants off and jump in the river and start hacking away. Like at least with a horse, sometimes you can drag it down, or the jet boat, drag it somewhere. It might be a little accessible, but no, it's always we don't really, where I hunt, it's more timbered, so it's actually might get stuck beside a tree or something, or down in a little hole or something like that. But I'm not a very big guy, but the little tricks to be able to, like, flip a moose over a couple times to get in the better spots, or just grab a hold with a horse or something like that. So I've had my share of bad spots, but over the 40 or 50 moose that I've guided, it's there's nothing that really sticks out in my mind anymore that surprises me.
Well, and in that case, then what's the biggest moose you can remember that you've been a part of?
I got a deadhead in the garage. It scores 233. That was a pretty sweet find. But I don't know, like, the exact numbers when I was younger, but probably close to like a high 30s, 230s, 68, 69-inch moose.
Those aren't little animals. Those those are good numbers if you're shooting high 60s. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like the Yukon. I used to always love just chasing the giant moose and looking for the next biggest one. But over the years, as soon as I changed to stone sheep, kind of my favoritism kind of went towards the stone sheep than the other critters in the mountains.
Yeah.
So, Brian, why stone sheep? Why are you so freaking manic about it? And what makes stone sheep so, or sheep in general, but stone sheep in particular, so freaking amazing?
There's just so much to it. Well, everybody knows, like, sheep hunting is just probably one of the hardest things that you can do, like, to challenge yourself. And then, the places where they take you, you're going on all the mountain tops and stuff like that. But the stone sheep, in my opinion, is the most beautiful animal in North America, in my opinion. So especially the ones we have in the Yukon with the crazy different color combinations, the dark body, perfect white face, and just the big swooping horns. And so to me, like, stone sheep just really is taken over, especially when COVID hit there. I got pretty emotional, like, oh my God, it's my 10th year in the Yukon, and please don't take this away from me. And then there was, we had only one stone sheep hunter that year, and I was lucky enough to guide him, and just kind of like, it really hit home to see the emotions that I was getting just from guiding stone sheep. I was like, oh man, I'm in deep trouble. Like, I can't remember the last thing I've felt this passionate about or this emotional about. So I don't think about the woods. I think the addiction or the passion is only getting thicker and thicker as the years go on. So I don't see myself quitting stone sheep
So,
anytime soon.
so for you, Brian, like you've seen it all, you've done it all, you've guided, big stone sheep, and you've hunted all these other great species too. But now for you, like, how do you, what keeps you going out there? Like, obviously there's the hunt, like it's fun. Like it's hard, it's rewarding, it's fun. But is there something out there, like, are you thinking about, you want to shoot the biggest stone sheep you've ever killed? You want to shoot something unique? Like what kind of keeps you coming back each and every year? Like, obviously you just love being out there. That's clear. But is there something that you're like, is there something you want to achieve in your quote stone sheep hunting career?
Yeah, if you would ask me that question maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I would have said it'd be sweet to be, the outfitter of a stone sheep area. Um, and that's a pretty big, bar to set. But what keeps me going on a shorter term would be, some clients just that I've been guiding over the years. We're coming back for a second stone sheep, and so you kind of feel not com- yeah, I don't know, you just kind of want to go back and have another hunt with that guy. Go look for the biggest, baddest stone sheep ram in the mountains. So tie your boots tight and let's see what we can find. So yeah, like there's always, you don't know what's in the mountains. So you know that big booner is out there somewhere, and I'm going to find it. But
Awesome. So when you're out there, like I've got my own personal goals and my own stuff, and there's things that I see out there that are permanently etched in my brain. Sure, it's different for you. When you think back, like when you see something on the landscape, maybe it's a grizzly bear, or maybe you see a big band of rams, or maybe you see the Booner skyline, or what, is there something that really stands out in your memory where like, shit, man, that was an incredible day to see something like that? Anything like that come to mind?
there's a couple, I guess. But the biggest caribou I ever got was, I don't know, somewhere around like 430 inches. And same thing, we crested a mountaintop and looked across to the next mountain, and there's just this, it was huge. Like, it was the biggest thing I've ever seen. So it stuck out. But we got to go kill that for sure. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Just that thing's dying. But yeah, in the stone sheep world too, I guess, like, you just take good inventory and you see some younger rams coming up. And I've been lucky enough to be able to hunt some of the same areas, same bands of rams for so long that you see a ram that's 5 years later, you go and you get to harvest them after looking at them for 5 years. And then a couple years later, you get to go back and hunt his brother. And so that's kind of cool to really understand, or get to know the different bands of rams. And just I start naming some rams. I don't name all the rams, but if I have a special ram, you know I'll, I'll name it, just so you don't have to always talk to the boss about, hey, that different colored ram with the weird thing on his head. And so that's kind of the only reason why I'd name them. But
Yeah, very cool. So, obviously, Aaron, he's as the outfitter, he's thinking about sustainability and legacy and leaving sheep on the mountain so that he'll have a business there. How big a role do you think you play in that as a guide? And like, do you have, you have your own ethics and stuff you set out there, and you're thinking about that, and you're thinking, okay, like you maybe, maybe you got a husband and wife or two brothers or something, you're taking them out. Maybe there's two legal rams in there. Will you sit there and say, yeah, we're only going to take one out of here? How big a role do you guys play in that? Maybe you directly, and then, if it's more so Aaron's call, how much does he play a role in that in terms of, because I know you guys, there's a lot of self-regulation as an outfitter, right? Obviously the government gives you quotas and all that sort of stuff, but there's a lot of self-regulation too. So talk a little bit about how you guys look at that aspect of it, Brian, if you don't mind.
yeah, so I think there's been, a lot of conversations, definitely between Aaron and myself. Aaron being the owner, and so yeah, we'd kind of just have changed the way that we manage our sheep populations simply by leaving an older ram in the band. So instead of there's an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, well, that's easy. We shoot the 10-year-old. But even though that the 8-year-old is legal on age and curl, and I don't care if he's 39 inches, we're just going to leave him there. So the other rams, let's say there's 5 other rams besides that 8-year-old that are all younger, let's say 3, 5, 4, that older ram will, help the younger ram survive the winters and stuff like that. And then what we've noticed is that more rams will actually join the group, throughout the winter. So I think over the years of actually doing that management practice, instead of there's a legal ram, shoot it, there's not a legal ram, shoot it. Um, Leaving a good aged ram in the band is definitely, we're seeing it help out the populations. So if there is calls to be had, so if they go, okay, we're having a tough hunt, and we're going to think about shooting a younger ram, like legal ram, and those conversations are had with Aaron personally, and then I've had those conversations before, so I know exactly what he's going to ask me, and so I have it listed out like, hey, this is this, and do I get the green go, or or do I get nope, go keep on looking. So just trying to keep the other guys on the team, just on the same measurement programs that the rest of us are all doing. So keep healthy populations and not really worrying about if we're going to find legal rams. It's just we want to keep that 10-year age average, just like every other sheep outfitter.
Right on. So yeah, I've heard that about like if you kill the 2 legal rams or the 2 mature rams in the group, and then they end up they get in a lot of trouble, right? Like it screws up the rut because you got 5, 6, 7-year-old rams that are trying to breed the ewes and running the ewes that they shouldn't have been because they're too young and dumb to know what to do. Whereas you get that, I guess, that leadership from that mature ram, you don't have those issues. Have you seen that personally? Like, have you experienced that? Like, you've seen the good side of what happens if you leave that ram in that band, but if you kill them, have you seen that like, in previous years before you guys started doing that, where it's kind of screwed things up on the mountain, or not really?
I just think it's a little bit more difficult hunting if you instead of looking for the band of rams and inventorying them all and knowing that, hey, you're going to go kill that dog or that ram this year, and okay, we're going to leave those rams on the mountains for next year. If you're just killing all the legal rams, now you don't really have any like safety net. Now you got to go and find a new band of rams, and that's not always the easiest thing. Like there's only so many sheep on the mountain, so in an entire outfit. So, we got, let's say, 5 guides out there, and we cover it pretty good, I think. There's not a lot of country that we're not looking over. So, if you just continue, like I said, you get rid of that safety net, well, all of a sudden you get a hard winter and knocks back another, age structure. So now what happens? Now you're going to have low success altogether. You might have some guys that just don't get a stone sheep, and you're just like, oh man, you worked your tail off and just couldn't get it done because, you shot a 7 or 8-year-old ram, instead of letting him be the boss for another 2 years.
Right on. Brian, one thing I'm curious about is, you're basically, I guess, the head guide, and you got all these young guys. You got the 5 guys there. How big is mentorship in that? Like, frickin' sheep hunting's bloody hard. We know that. It's for a variety of reasons. There's so much to do and so much to learn. But aging, mature rams, all that sort of stuff is bloody hard. Like you said, you see a 6-year-old that's 39 inches, and it's like, it takes some maturity and to know what you're doing. And I can see, a guy in his first year might have a little bit of trouble with something like that. Is there a lot of mentorship and a lot of support that you guys provide with these young guys that are coming in, or are they learning that as the what horse handler?
Wrangler.
I'm losing my brain here. The Wrangler. My goodness, that's embarrassing. Granted, I've never done it, but I know what they are. Anyway, sorry for all the Wranglers out there. But is there a lot of mentorship, or are they getting that mentorship and experience before they even get, they even take their first guy out there? Are they a junior guide coming along with you, and you're kind of mentoring them that first year? How does that work?
Yeah, so we definitely I would say that I'm the most the most seniority there at Yukon Stone. I've been there the longest, but Greg Spenner, our outfitter, he's got 38 years experience. I think he's at 99 or 98 stone sheep. Like he's guided, like he's got more experience than I am age wise. So um, between him and I, we definitely um, take on a big role of teaching all the younger wranglers and trying to get them on sheep kills, because that's probably the biggest thing is watching sheep tip over, time in and time again. And like you guys know, if you have seen a sheep, you work your tail off for 8 days, and then the ninth day it is you walk up the mountain and you tip it over. It's just like, well, why couldn't that be day 2 or 3? It's why was it so hard? But I guess that's sheep hunting, or hunting in general. Um, so what we try to do is we always try to keep the wrangler with us in the game. Make sure he's got his binoculars and he's trying to glass up rams and stuff like that. It becomes a little bit of a game, I want to see them like try to find animals before me. And yeah, I've took a couple dollar bills out of some wranglers' hands, just little little bets, who can find the first ram, the biggest ram, or whatever, right? Um, so they don't really get a chance to guide right away unless, especially sheep, it's going to be 3 years of, being an apprentice, and before they're going to actually get their chance to guide a stone sheep. But they'll cut their teeth on some moose hunts or a grizzly bear hunt or a caribou hunt that they can get the experience. And then you kind of set them up for success, saying, hey, remember those caribou that were over there the other day? He's like, yeah. Go take your client and go whack one. Then they come back and everybody's happy. They guide his first caribou or his first ever animal, and so just kind of reinforcement. And if something goes wrong and you guys, there's all the inReaches nowadays, I'm always checking up on all the other guides and making sure everything's going good. If they're struggling and I've been in that area before, I was like, hey, well, have you gone over here? Have you gone over there? And trying to give them pointers and make sure camp morale is decent too. So I think that answers your question about going from regular to guide.
Yeah, thanks for the linguistics lesson there. I can't remember what I'm talking about. Awesome. So now, one other thing I was kind of wondering about is the safety aspect. It's been a few times in the mountains. I'm by no means an experienced guy, and I've been out there, and you get in a storm, and you're on top of the hill, the mountain, and stuff like that, and you're like, you're on ramps, and you're like, shit, I got to get off here. And maybe it's safe. Like, I just didn't have enough experience to know. But you ever get young guys that in their first couple of years, and we all know that everyone gets in trouble once in a while, but have you had situations where guys don't have quite enough experience and they end up getting in a safety situation with their client, or has that ever been an issue for you guys?
Not that I can think of. No, like I would say some of the biggest issues would be is just the horsemanship. Like I think the biggest challenge I had last year on the first stone sheep hunt was we had so much rain that when I went to cross a river, it was swollen up, and it was not fun to cross. And the ponies had to swim a little harder, but everybody made it across fine. But it's the same thing as, you put yourself in the wrong position, between two horses with pack boxes, and something moves, you can be, kind of caught between the two pack boxes or stuff like that. So it's really not the hunters that are kind of the ones that are getting in trouble. We put them on the best horses, and just kind of always looking out for their safety. So it's kind of like the wrangler and the guides that are putting themselves in situations about chainsaws and you know horse wrecks and stuff like that. So we just try to keep the clients kind of at a safe distance when there's a big horse wreck or something. But there's always thing. I had one hunter. He was 6'4", I think, and he had it on a big horse, and we all went underneath this tree branch, no problem. But he went underneath, and his backpack got caught and ripped him right off the horse. So stuff. Sometimes just
Shit, that would have hurt.
oh, he was an older fella too. That was the worst part. But and so
Oh, I can't imagine getting ripped off your horse from 6 feet up and then having a pack on top of it. And maybe it softened the blow, but I doubt
I
it.
don't know. We didn't get him a ram. It unfortunately, I think he broke a rib, and we had to get him out. So, but
Yikes.
freak accidents, just stuff like that. But I think that's probably one of the worst things that I've encountered in my own hunts. I've seen some really, really close calls, but nothing that, you look back and it's like, man, that could have been way worse. So,
Yeah. You guys have a lot of bears in your area there?
definitely not a lot. I live here in Grand Cache, Alberta, and there's way more grizzly bears here in Alberta, I think there is in the Yukon. So, um, I think the stories I hear about BC as well, like after they shut it down, like there's just way more grizzly bears. So, um, you're gonna see them. Like I wish we would see a lot more big ones, but so then hunters would be more entailed to shoot them, because not many hunters want to shoot like a 6.5, 7 foot grizzly bear. They're all looking for that legendary 8 foot, grizzly bear. So
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So do you guys haven't had too much trouble with grizzlies in camp or anything like that, or any close calls that were pretty scary?
well, I had one camp. It wasn't a grizzly. It was actually like a little 2-year-old black bear. Um, Actually ripped open the side of the kuyu tent and stepped right on my hunter's feet. And so we ended up chasing him out of camp, and we had actually dispatched that bear at. It was a couple days later. He was licking some pans and in the kitchen there, and it's at 5 o'clock in the morning. We zipped open the tent. He was about 4 feet away from my Wrangler, and he actually dispatched of it, and no problem really. Just gotta do the protocols of talking with the COs and hand them the carcass and give them your statement. And, it's not a really big deal if it's a problem bear that's ripping open tents and stepping on hunters, right? So, but besides that, I don't really have too many other bear stories in camp.
Yeah, I guess when you start getting the problem bear coming in, you got to handle that quickly, especially if you're going to be out there for a while, eh?
Oh yeah, especially if he's eating all your food.
Yeah, that's number one. You're not going very far if you got no food. So
Yeah,
and if they're getting brazen in the tents and jumping in the kitchen, you're some dicey situations are brewing for sure.
yeah.
Do you guys deal with any you got wolverines coming into camp stealing while you guys are out, or raiding your pack horses?
I had that one time at Bonnet Plume, kind of came in and stole moose backstraps, but no, they're far few from between. When I see them, in, where I am now in the Pelly Mountains, it's just way more trees and stuff like that. So I've only seen a couple over the last so many years at Yukon Stone.
No, okay. What's the one hunt that you need to do? You've got your stone. Is it stones for everything, or you're all over the map. You're down in Mexico hunting. You're in Alberta. Is stones your number one?
Yeah, I'd like to at least get a chance to guide or hunt, all the species. So I'm getting pretty close to that. And I'm still part of the less one club. So as soon as I get the chance to whack my own sheep, I hope I have some really close friends beside me because I know that's going to be an emotional time for me.
Does the lesson one club count for you? You may not have shot one on your own, but how many have you actually been a part of that you're responsible for? It's got to be a pretty decent number.
Yeah, I did the math there. After I had Bradford Black this year, I helped him get his 30th sheep, which got him the Pantheon Award. And so I was thinking, well, maybe this is my 30th sheep, and which would have been pretty cool. But I'm actually at I think it was my 20th stone sheep, is what that hunt was for me. So that was pretty cool.
Do you guide for any other sheep besides stones, and then you used to guide for dolls, and then do you go into bighorns or deserts or at all?
No, yeah, I'll start doing desert bighorns. I got a hunt this December, but the bighorns, I'm usually just so tired after 3 months in the Yukon that I've been able to put a sheep tag in my pocket a couple of times, and just go in my backyard here in the Wilmore. But it's pretty hard to put a full effort in when you're just that drugged down after 3 months of guiding in the Yukon. Plus, I have my own whitetail mule deer outfit that I'm gearing up for the month of November and end of October. So there's not a lot of time for me to get out and get my own sheep.
How long have you done the mule deer and whitetail?
I've been outfitting for 9 years. This would be my 9th season.
9th season of your own. Okay,
yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that long. That's good.
Neither did I.
Longevity, is that? Yeah.
Where's your guide area at for that, bro?
Right around here, like Grand Cache, Hinton area. Yeah.
Okay. What kind of class of deer are you killing out there? Muley.
Killing and chasing is two different things. Like.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I've been chasing a deer I call Elvis for 7 years. And if he's still alive this year, I think he's 10 and a half years old. And
wow.
Last time I seen him, he's probably, I think he's going downhill now a little bit, but I think the biggest he was about 210.
Wow.
And he's he's all over my cameras and runs around like an idiot breeding all the does, but he's just, this is hard hunting. These are not just these are bush bucks, mountain bucks kind of hunting. So it's not like you're out there in the farmland and see 20 does up in the farmer's field and watch the bucks go and sniff around. But this is tight quarters in the mountains, in the thick bush.
So how you guys hunting them? How do you take guys in there? Like, are you horsebacking in, or are you like spot and stock? Are you tree stand? What do you do?
Lucky enough that I don't really go too far off the beaten path. I don't think there's too many deer back in the Wilmore, so I'm kind of just using oil-filled roads and stuff like that, and just getting down and dirty and looking for these pockets of deer. And you put a camera up and leave it there for 10 years, you're going to watch a lot of deer come and go. So that's just kind of how I've been doing it. And it's kind of close counters, kind of bow hunting with a rifle almost. You're shooting deer at 30, 40 yards.
Super cool. And are they typically typical, non-typical, heavy? What kind of, obviously there's some big deer there clearly, but what kind of stuff can you expect to see? Mixed bag?
Yeah, mixed bag. I got, a lot of JIDEX where you got, some stickers and some drop tines and stuff like that. So, just really dark antlers and stuff like that too. So just big, beefy mountain deer and stuff like that. So
sweet. So for you, obviously you're guiding, but you can kill your own every year. Are you shooting a deer every year or close to it, or what do you do for yourself?
Yeah, COVID kind of took its toll on us here as well, just like everybody. So I had a couple of years there to do my own kind of hunting and stuff like that. But I chased Elvis myself for so long that he's almost wrecked whitetail hunting for me, because you try so hard, year in year out, putting clients on them, and then you go hunt them yourself for 30 days straight, and it's like, man, where is he? And then end of the season comes, last couple of days, you're just like, well, that's a nice buck. Screw it, shoot him. Fill the freezer. Personally, I like the taste of them, so there's no use having tag soup. When you can at least have some beard or deer back straps.
Yeah, right on. So why you call him Elvis? Because he's the
He's
king,
the
or
king,
is
yeah.
he?
Yeah,
Right on.
he's the king, and his antlers are so tall, like he looks like Elvis's hair, right?
Okay,
So,
cool. Right on. So what do you prefer, mule deer or whitetail? Like in your area and that sort of stuff. If you're going to go hunting something on your own, what are you going to go after, mule deer? Or
the mule deer isn't as as many deer here as I like. So, I mainly focus on the whitetails and stuff like that. So I'd have to go towards the whitetails and the mule deer in my area.
Right on. So when you bring guys in, do you have guides as well, or are you able to do it all yourself?
I've been, I keep myself fairly busy doing it, and then if I have bigger groups of clients, and I usually hire some guy, an extra guide to do a group of 4 or something like that. Same as my black bears this spring. Got a group of 4, so got to find a guide to kind of fill in for the week and get me through it. So.
Right on. And do you have quite a few tags, or you get quite a few guys through? Or?
Yeah, I own 30 tags, but I've never got to fill them all yet. I haven't really been that successful. Just kind of keep myself busy,
Right.
and and the same thing. Like, you try to kill too many animals, and you just kind of shoot yourself in the foot again.
Yeah, for sure. And then are you guys guiding for black bears right now, or is it what's going on?
Yeah, I kind of started doing spot and stock black bears. Same with COVID kind of hit, and my friends that I was working for them in their baited outfits. And, once COVID happened, I just kind of decided to kind of gear up my own, a little bit more. So, I'll start, clients arrive at the end of May, and we'll hunt, last week of May through June.
Right on. That's cool. And you guys get some pretty big bears out there too?
Yeah. We got a lot of color phase bears, and, I've never seen a booner black bear yet, even after 12 years of doing baited hunts. But I don't know. If guys are wanting a Boone and Crockett black bear, I'm probably not going to book them. I'm just going to, you want to go on a nice spot stock hunt and see some country and see some bears, and, shoot the biggest one we can find. That's what we're doing. It's not picking and choosing like you can with the baited hunts.
Yeah, right on. And you guys do archery as well, or is it rifle, or a little of both?
I'm not afraid to do both.
Right on.
As long as the guy, understands, if you're archery, you got to be able to stalk in close and, and get it done. But
so after your deer season, are you rolling down into Mexico after that?
Yep, 100%.
For mule deer?
Yeah, we'll do a sheep hunt probably, right after deer season, do a sheep hunt, and then once January rolls around, start doing mule deer hunts down there too, hopefully.
So you just take a quick break in Reno, little R&R between things, and then you head out. Where are you when you go to Mexico?
I'm kind of in that. Everybody's, we're hunting Sonora just like everybody else, but I kind of hang my hat down towards Guadalajara.
Oh yeah. Do you ever? I've been to Mexico. I've never hunted Mexico. Do you ever find yourself in situations that you don't feel like you should be there a little bit? especially if you're close to a place like Guadalajara?
Nope, not even close. I've spent a lot of time down there, and I've seen some stuff that, that you're like, wow, I can't believe that just happened. And yet, never once have I felt in any danger at all. It's if you don't bother them, they're not going to bother you.
No, that's good. That's always, it's a question I get asked whenever I go somewhere, and you always hear other people ask it when they're abroad. Is safety's always number one, because a lot of us we only hear, we don't experience. So it's good to hear that.
Yeah,
and then
there's also
how long you.
There's also a big difference between like going to the resorts, all the Americanized resorts versus going to the heart of Mexico, where I've been kind of hanging out. But like I said, it's kind of sketchy on some back roads at night. You don't go on back roads at night. You just kind of stick to your areas and don't do nothing that's gonna put yourself in danger.
When you're hunting deer down there, what's your tactics? Is it long distance glassing and then spot and stalk, or?
Yeah, you're allowed to bait those deer down there. So, they set up little bait stations, and then they use the high racks. But I'm not a big high rack person. I rather use the high rack to go from point A to point B and hunt our way there. But I like to get up on some glassing knobs and really just hang out and put the glass to work. And then once you see it,
the terrain, like where
it's actually pretty flat, and they just have like these like hills or mountains. I don't know, like they're not really big mountains, but so you could there's coos deer up on the side of those and up on top, and then the mule deer are kind of down on the valleys and on the side of the hills and stuff. So you kind of just use pickup trucks and just kind of work your way around and cover as much area as you can. And I figured out pretty quick, where the deer were and the deer were not, with the bait or without the bait. So that's just how it was. So I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Killed some big deer.
Well, I see some of those pictures you send and put on Instagram are quite something of those deer.
Yeah.
Very, very envious. As a mule deer's my favorite hunt. So I might have to pull that trigger one day and go down to Mexico and chase them in the desert with you.
Oh yeah, man. I thought it was going to be a lot hotter, with the desert stuff, but I was wearing the same clothes in the mountains in the Yukon I was in the desert. Like you're either going to get windburnt, sunburnt, and you're still cold. So it's a fun hunt. I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Awesome. Are you guys chasing coos deer while you're there as well, or just specifically mule deer?
The hunters I had last year, none of them wanted coos deer. So I would personally like to chase coos deer, even for myself. It's just kind of one of those animals that, I think that I might have to pull the trigger, for myself, as long as the price doesn't go through the roof.
Oh, you should be able to swing a deal, can't you?
I don't know.
How's that work when you go down there? Do you have to get special permits to guide down there? Do you have to get a license for while you're down there?
No, I just
the outfitter.
Yeah, just my buddy asked me if I wanted to guide some hunts for him, and I jumped on the opportunity. So bought my plane tickets and went down.
All right, on. So we like to do a little thing around here when we get close to the end. We don't do it all the time, but when we're talking to guys that spend as much time in the bush as you do you got one story that just kind of that sticks out as terrifying, like your most dangerous point in the backcountry, whether it's down in Mexico and Alberta? It could be a bear encounter, it could be you got yourself cliffed out, storm, whatever. One that just pops for you.
Yeah, I almost quit the whole mountain guiding. One time I was doing a lot of scouting by myself and kind of slipped on some moss and was wearing my backpack. I went to sit down, and the wall, like the cliff wall, actually pushed me forward, and I kind of took a tumble down the mountain a little bit and was lucky enough that I hit the next ledge, which was only about probably less than 3 feet across. I think I fell about 10 or 12 feet, and I hit that ledge, and I grabbed onto wherever I could, took my backpack off, and I don't know how long I sat there, but I was ready to quit guiding the mountains. I'm going back to the fishing lodge, and maybe I'll just buy my own fishing lodge. It was that close to calling her quits, but I think that was probably 7 years ago, 8 years ago, and so I haven't quit yet.
Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah, if that ledge wasn't there,
on for life.
Yeah, if that ledge wasn't there, it was a far way down. So you kind of had to rethink the whole situation, and what just happened, and is this actually worth it at the couple $100 a day that you're getting paid, and with no clients and stuff like that. So you're like, and then I don't know, I just kind of shook it off, and I still do it.
Yeah, it's hard to turn a blind eye on doing what you love, no matter how difficult the situation was.
Oh yeah, I don't know if there's an end to me guiding anytime soon. I think about not going to the Yukon for a season, and I'm like, that's just crazy talk. Like, I've lost a lot of relationships, and I've missed a lot of birthdays, funerals, weddings. You name it. I've missed all my friends' biggest moments. Because I'm in the mountains. I'm gone. Just get to leave for a weekend and go enjoy parties. But I think about not doing it, and it sounds like a nightmare having a real job.
Yeah, nobody wants that. I have one. I don't want it.
Yeah, I don't envy you with a real job.
My wife I don't know if my wife and kids would allow the guide life, though. I might be trouble at home.
Yeah, and that's that's part of it. It's a big sacrifice, but now it's just getting harder and harder to find the guys that the younger guys that want to come and do it. It's just, I think we were talking there before. It's like, kind of need to build something that the guys can know that these opportunities are there. Like, most of the guys that I talk to, they have no idea about this industry or how to get into it, or so I think like most outfitters.
So you got a high turnover rate.
Yeah, just like you said, guys, find that lady and start a family and just don't really want to go to the mountains anymore. So need the younger guys to come and replace them.
Got to trick them into it before they cement their life.
Yeah. So,
well, Brian, it's been great chatting with you, and we appreciate you coming on. If people are looking for you, how do they get a hold of you? Where do we find you?
Yeah,
website, Instagram. What?
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram is probably the easiest way to find me.
Just look up Brian Spitzig. Is that the handle?
Yep, Brian Spitzig, and I think on my Facebook it's Brian Michael Spitzig. But and then I have my outfits, Spitzig's Outfitting, but you don't get to see any of the cool Yukon stuff on that one. You just get to see deer and black bears.
So, a couple questions for you, Brian. When's your next vacancy for Stone Sheep? What are you guys are booking? 25, 26? How far out you got to go to get a
I think if you asked Aaron pretty nicely, he might get in like 2 years or 3 years, but
okay.
He doesn't really always book 100% solid. He's always got, one or two open here or there, just for shuffling people or, return clients and stuff like that. So, I think the price these days, I heard that another outfit was going to go to $125,000 in 2 years for a Stone Sheep. So
yeah, I was hearing that some of the guys in BC were 100 US right now for for next year. Like that's what their price is at. So, and they don't go down. It's not like it get cheaper,
No,
right? So it's like,
not going cheaper.
Guys think when they were 50, they're like, holy crap, they're 50, and then they're 60, and now they're so. Yeah, it's best not to wait for these things, in my experience.
Well, the biggest thing I see is that, when people say, well, it's, we're 70,000 US, and you talk to these guys like, that's way too much money. It's like, what do you drive? Well, I have a pickup truck. Okay, what year? 2023. It's like, well, there you go. There's a $110,000 pickup truck right there. So, I have a 2014 Duramax, 310,000 kilometers on it. I just keep on. I don't need the newest, greatest, truck to do the same job that my Duramax does. So if people would actually just kind of put a little bit of money towards something, they'll get the money there quicker than they think they will. So,
Yeah, it's about priorities, right? What do you want to do? If you want to go hunt stone sheep, you'll find a way to
100%.
do it. Right? And if you don't, you don't.
100%.
Yeah. Oh, and then the other question I have for you is, can a guy get in with you this fall or this spring for a bear hunt, or next fall for kill some deer and stuff like that? Are you booking guys, or are you kind of booked up ways out?
Yeah, kind of this spring I'm kind of booked up. I might be able to pinch, someone in here or there, but yep, for fall hunts and Mexico hunts, stuff like that. Like I'm taking bookings for sure.
Okay. And my last question is, we're going to see in the Circle Bar. I guess we're going to see the Circle Bar in January, clearly, obviously.
100%. Right? I wouldn't miss Reno for anything, bud.
Okay, awesome. Look forward to it.
Love to hear it.
Hopefully I got some more pictures, some big stone sheep to show you.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Appreciate it, Brian. Super stoked to have you on, and look forward to following you on social and what you get up to this year. So appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys. It was a pleasure to jump on here and chat with you guys for a bit.